Steve Jobs said, "Your desire to change must be greater than your desire to stay the same." I can relate. The Census Bureau states that most renters and homeowners spend 30% or more of household income on their rent or mortgage. Just talking to friends and family, my gut tells me that the percentage is even higher. So what I am proposing today may require thinking outside of the box. But let me tell you, it is the way that I became a successful real estate investor. It is the way I paid off my debt quickly and traveled the world at discount prices, of course. So how did I do it? There were some sacrifices in place that I had to make, and I could not afford to keep up with the Joneses. My first real job was many years ago when I had just graduated from college. I found an apartment, actually more like a single, and I paid $180 a month. I lived there for a period of 10 years, and by the end of that 10-year period, my rent was $200 a month. My car payment ranged from about $200 a month, and my utilities and phone came up to about $100. So on a modest income of $1,500 a month, if my expenses total around $500 to $600 a month, then you can just see how I was able to save a large amount of money over a long period of time. And of course, during this period of time, I traveled, but I was also living credit card free. Now, I talked to you a little bit about the sacrifices that I made. It wasn't necessarily the best area in town, but I felt safe up until the time I moved. In fact, my family and friends were always encouraging me to move, but I had a vision. And when it was time to move, it was time to move. And I'm telling you, God made it possible. It was then that I bought my first property in a way better neighborhood. In fact, the neighborhood was so much nicer, I was thinking to myself as the realtor was showing me around, I don't really think I'm going to be able to afford to live here. And I felt badly for the agent. I felt like I was wasting her time, but I played along and she showed me several properties. And this particular one, I mean, it was so amazing that it changed my life. It was twice as big as my single. It was a 2-bedroom and 1-bath condominium with a large kitchen and hallway, large windows. And I just thought to myself, I know I won't be able to afford this. And when she told me the price of that property, oh, I did the happy dance. I can still do the happy dance. It only cost me a few $100s more than what I was paying. And though I lived closer to Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills was only a 10-minute commute. So yes, I had moved from this nice, okay neighborhood to a pretty good location. And let me tell you, I bought that property for less than $40,000. In fact, it was $39,900, and my mortgage was $329 a month. Just $129 more than my rent, and that marked the beginning of my real estate career, which I will tell you more about. So I said all that to say this. Imagine if you could cut your housing costs in half. You could do the same. Here are ways to do so, even if you only do it for a year or two, or shorter, just a short period of time, where now only 16 to 17% of your income goes to your housing needs. Now that leaves you with an additional 16% of income, an immediate raise to pay off credit card debt and to save. Now here are some options for you to explore. Have you ever thought about getting a roommate? Studies reveal that many adults are now moving back home because they can't afford to maintain their own home. And of course, you need to contribute to the household, but that's a second way that you can cut down on your living expenses. And my favorite thing to do is always to get a smaller unit. Just as I lived in that single for 10 years, I have done something really wonderful again. I have chosen to move into a smaller unit in a beach community here in Los Angeles, which I would not be able to afford on my own. However, I went through a transition in my life where I got divorced. And as a result, I inherited a very big bill. So I am now doing exactly what I did in those early years, only this time I am living 2 minutes away from the ocean. I literally walk down the hill and I am in the water. My place is not fancy, but the area is beautiful. The surroundings are beautiful. And you know what they say in real estate? You buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. Well, I live in the smallest place in the best neighborhood, a beach town here in Los Angeles. And I had been thinking that I wanted to move out of the house because I had just bought it in Los Angeles right after my divorce. And I moved because it really wasn't conducive to my lifestyle. It was bigger, had more room, more space, and all of that. But I missed the neighborhood I had lived in as a married woman and wanted to move back. I left it here as I prayed. I kid you not, one day I left work early on a Friday and went to my place of rest in the same neighborhood I now live. And I had never gone there on a Friday. And as soon as I got out of the car, a gentleman from Arkansas approached me, and I tell him I'm from Mississippi and somehow I wanted to live in this area again. And he told me about a place for rent and that he would take me to see it. I saw it, I took it, and let me tell you, you will not believe what I'm paying. $750 a month. And that includes utilities. Now that put me in a position to pay off 80% of my marriage debt in less than a year's time. And in 6 more months, I will be totally debt-free again. This is why I suggest you get rooted and firm in your beliefs and your affirmations, because when you do, God, the universe, will bring them to pass. I just left work early that day looking for guidance, and I guess, boy, I got it. I read about a woman who lives in Manhattan, New York, who is really doing the same thing. So it's becoming more of a trend to downsize. So I just want to say this, maybe this is not your story, but your ideal housing situation exists. Again, maybe you find a roommate. 2, if you own, perhaps you may decide that you want to rent your home and move into a smaller unit. You can do, as we said earlier, maybe move in with your parents for a short period of time, and of course, contribute. These are just some options for you to consider. And just know that you can find some housing like this in some very nice communities. It just takes an open mind and being receptive to that, as I stated in the earlier segment. We really call things into being by saying them, by what we say, what we think. Remember what I told you? We're embarking on a new way of thinking, a new way of living, and a new you. Financial success is not a gift. It's a habit. Write me. Tell me what you think. Share your strategies, and we will all grow and learn together as we embark on a new you. I want to hear from you. So please follow me on Twitter, #TimmyTeacher. Like us on Facebook, newfitworldtv.com. And please send me your questions, comments, tips, and places where you've found great deals so we can share with our viewers and on our website.